And I'm going to talk about happiness, and I'm going to give you just a few thoughts, and hopefully it won't be such a long and sprawling thing, though of course I do love to talk. So happiness. Happiness often seems like it is going to be out there in the world. It's the new job, it's the new car, it's the new house, it's getting married, it's getting engaged, it's when someone pops the question and getting the ring and going on the vacation. And it's always in the future, happiness seems to be in some ways. Or happiness is something you remember. You remember your childhood, or going on that one trip, or being with your ex, or something that you did when your kids were young. Something you did that was happy is in the past. Well, actually, okay. So, basics. The past exists, but only in the present. If I'm thinking of the past, or you're thinking of the past, that's happening now. The future does not exist. There is no future. There's just now. There's successions of now, and there's change. We think about the future a lot. We do in our brains. We have what's called a negative bias of the brain, and this is basically an evolved skill happening over eons, probably predates human beings, a mammalian thing, maybe it's even pre-mammalian, where we are basically problem solving. We're projecting out connections. We're looking for threats. And note this phenomena. So basically, I'm sitting here, and if a car crashes through the door, or if an airplane crashes through the ceiling, or a meteorite or something, I'm sitting here, I'm feeling safe, I have no warnings or no worries, and suddenly something traumatic or negative or unsafe happens. And so my brain will remember that. It will get instantly stored into my memory. And in cases of things like trauma or PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, that negative thing comes to be imprinted so that after it's happened, it still remains present. So it's a danger that happened, but it still feels like present danger. Okay, so combining these things together. Basically, happiness is a practice that you do in the present moment. There are things that make you happy, that feel good to you, and you do them now, and you do them daily now. Let's give an example. And these are taken mainly from a guy named Shawn Achor, his 5 steps of happiness. I'm not sure I'm going to name all 5 here. These are just examples towards happiness. One of the things he recommends, he's a Harvard researcher. You can look up his TED Talk. Basically, he's saying, practice gratitude. So create a gratitude journal where you mention 3 different things each day, different, that you're grateful for, that you're thankful for. It's kind of like Thanksgiving, right? You go around the table once a year in November before you're having turkey, and say what you're grateful for. This is doing it every day. And he recommends you do it for, I think, something like 21 days. And one of the reasons for this is that there's the science that says, again, when a negative traumatic thing happens, it can imprint on the brain in a way. Let's say you get bit by, I don't know, a snake, and then you're afraid of snakes forever, even unto your last days on the earth. Negative imprinting takes in the brain right away. It can, if it's negative enough. A house fire, a war, violence, an accident, a loss, some kind of deep hurt. Well, positive things like gratitude are not deep hurt. They're not traumatic. They're not painful. In fact, they're pleasurable. So you would think the brain would remember them. And you would only have to do it once. You'd only have to remember the 3 things you're grateful for today, and then it would continue to be present in your life. But that's not how the brain works. The brain has a negative bias to remember, and it doesn't have a positive bias. So you have to try to hack into your brain, and by practicing a habit for about 3 weeks, that's positive, like working out, like going for a run, like going for a walk, like meditation. You can get into the habit of doing, like cooking your own lunch rather than going out. You get into the habit of it by doing it for at least 3 weeks. And that's how your brain, excuse me, is going to start to remember this. So with just that one practice, the gratitude practice that Shawn Achor talks about, you are going to get into the habit. The other thing that's important with his practice is that you are going to name 3 separate things each day. And it has to be separate things because you'll pretty much name the same thing over and over again. Oh, I'm happy for my family. I'm happy for, my house. I'm happy for my job. And you'll just do that every day. If you are forced to name 3 different things each day, you'll have to go looking for things to be grateful for. And so this is the reverse of the negative bias of the brain. Our brain is constantly looking for things, looking for trouble, looking for accidents, looking for scary things, dark things, painful things, hurtful things. And from an evolutionary sense, it makes sense why this is true. We've evolved. There's almost 8 billion of us around. It's a very successful strategy. It just is not a good strategy if you want to be happy. A good strategy to be happy is to look for things to be happy about. And this is not fake. You're not faking it. You're not pasting on a smile on your face. These are things you're genuinely grateful for. So I'm going to give an example. I don't want to go on forever, but I'm happy for this camera. I'm happy for my hair. I'm happy to be able to sit here and reach out to all of you people. I'm happy that the planet exists. I'm happy for the Big Bang. I'm happy that our planet is in a Goldilocks zone and that there's life. I'm happy for my family. I'm happy for food. I'm happy that I'm not in pain. I'm happy that I woke up this morning. I'm happy that I can think. I'm happy for the sun. I'm happy for this particular season that's happening right now. And then you get into happiness and gratitude. I'm grateful for these things. I'm grateful for this life. I'm grateful to be me. I'm grateful to be, because honestly, you can think of examples where every single one of those things isn't true. And in some ways, you should know this. As terrible as the terrible things that can happen to a person happen, I'm going to make up a percentage. I'm going to say that's a very small percentage of their entire life, even though they're awful things, pain and suffering and loss and disease and death. That's still 2%, 5%, 10%. And the rest of their life in that day, 95%, 98%, 90% is all these miraculous things. And so it is kind of a reframe to see the world in terms of all the things that go right. And so that's what a happiness practice is. It's genuine. It's genuinely focusing off of the things that bother us, the things that scare us, the things that are hurting us. And it's looking towards all of the amazing things that we have the pleasure and we have the sincere good luck to be experiencing. Good luck, everyone.